One of the most underutilized ways of increasing the number of leads through your website is by improving your conversion rate. Digital marketers are known for spending the majority of their budgets on getting users to their website, but we all know that's only half the battle. The second half of the battle is getting that person to get in contact with you. So in today's video, I want to run through 16 different ways you can increase your conversion rate to turn all that hard-earned traffic into revenue. The framework of this video is going to be based around a conversion rate optimization graphic we created, which has been featured in Marketing Profs, Social Media Today, Word Tracker, and loads of other great marketing websites. Also ranks #1 for the term B2B conversion rate optimization in Google, which means this information can definitely be trusted. Because when has Google not ever positioned the most useful and trusted resource position #1? Okay, let's just jump into the graphic. And the first step to our road of conversion optimization is making sure that we have tracking set up. By this, I mean Google Analytics tracking, so we can see the conversion rates of different channels, as well as getting something like a heat map solution set up, such as Hotjar, so we can see visuals and videos of how the users are engaging with your landing page or website. The second thing I want to focus on, which can sometimes be overlooked, is securing your website. And by this, when you go in the top left-hand corner, sometimes you'll see a little open padlock which says unsecure. This doesn't look great. A lot of the time, users won't trust this website to put in their personal information because it just looks a bit spammy. Instead, you want to make sure that you have an SSL certificate, which means you have the HTTPS symbol at the top left-hand corner. Ultimately, this means you have the word secured at the end of your HTTP protocol. Quickly moving on to the third thing that we want to focus on is speed. Ultimately, users have so much choice out. They want to make sure that they're getting to the solution and the content as quickly as humanly possible. It's found that 40% of people will bounce on a website that takes 3 or more seconds to load. So a quick tip here, you want to make sure everything above the fold loads within the first 3 seconds. So if you do have a large page and it all can't load within 3 seconds, make sure you defer all the requests, whether it's HTTP requests or all the elements below the fold to load a bit slower, but make sure you prioritize all the elements that someone can see as soon as they come onto your website. So it gives the illusion that everything is loaded quickly and they don't hard bounce off your site. Point #4 is all around having a clear header. And we see this quite a lot in the tech space and the B2B space. And the company will say something like amazing digital transformation. I mean, what does that even mean? Ultimately, you want to make sure the header of the page is completely aligned to what the source of the content was of the channel that referred them to that page. Big companies such as Microsoft are known for having really ambiguous titles, but chances are you're not Microsoft, so people don't already know what you do. So if you're not a market leader or a conglomerate, then chances are having really specific and detailed and relevant titles is going to pay back massive dividends for your business. Okay, so point #5 is an engaging call to action. And typically what we see is everyone just has the word submit as part of their form. So what you need to make sure you do is use that button to say what is going to happen in the solution. Are you going to get pricing? Is it going to be get quote? What actually happens after your user hits that call to action? And make sure you can make it as descriptive as possible. And avoid the word submit at all costs. What are they submitting? Don't know. Okay, so #6 is credibility. And whether that's a B2B company, you're trying to show the credentials of the other suppliers in different industries that you've worked with to give people some peace of mind. You know that quote, nobody got fired for hiring IBM. In B2B, you want to be the relative of IBM of your industry. And the best way of doing that is by showing all the other companies that trust you, because then if they trust you, then the chances of the buying committees of the B2B company you're trying to sell into are going to probably trust you as well. Okay, and after a quick outfit change, we're moving on to point #7, which is succinct copy. Ultimately, studies have shown that people only need around 14 words to get the gist of what it is that you're saying. So there's no point in creating massive blocks of text on landing pages, which people are going to struggle to get through and digest. Okay, so #8, video embed. This is one I see people get caught out on quite a lot, including myself, because what happens when you embed a YouTube video on your website is when that YouTube video ends, it starts recommending other videos from different creators on your own website. What you could actually start doing is creating referral traffic from your website to other people's YouTube channels, including competitors. So when you're doing this, make sure you remove the playlists or the related videos which aren't associated to your channel at the end of the video. And if you don't like the way that the YouTube embed looks, you can use other video hosting providers like Vimeo, which may look a bit smarter. Right, #9, which is visible reviews. So it's actually been found about 90% of purchasing decisions have been influenced around reviews. So if you're lucky enough to have great testimonials from clients or reviews, then it's definitely worth putting them on your site, whether that's from Google reviews, whether it's just video video testimonials that you get from clients, or whether that's the likes of G2 or Capterra or other review software in the B2B space. Number 10, selling the why, not the what. And I actually think this isn't necessarily that correct. I think you should be selling the why and the what. So if you're selling software, for example, you want to be selling why someone would want to use it and what solution-focused problem that it's solving. But then also you need to list out the features that it has, the product loops that it has, to make sure they have the features they need, which are ultimately going to solve the problem that they're having. So make sure you start with solutions-focused selling and the why, and then move further down the page and start selling the features there. Number 11 is custom images. If you're just using the likes of stock photos, chances are that they may think that you're not that serious, you haven't put that much time and effort into your website. And ultimately it could be a deciding factor of how comfortable they feel with you guys as a company. Let's look at a real world example of this. Instead of just having random pictures of Steve Jobs on the wall, which there's one over there, but also what we do have is a picture on a wall of when we all went out to an abstract art event and the whole team had a go at painting their own picture. I mean, it doesn't sound great, but right, let me show you. There's Steve. There you go, look at this thing. Painted by the whole team on the left. That one was painted by an individual, not someone's kid, which it may look like. And while I don't think that every image needs to be custom, especially on your team page, make sure you've got nice headshots and make sure you've got different snippets of things that could potentially portray your culture. And number 12 is valuable content. And this is a bit of an interesting one because ultimately, if you're sending someone to a landing page through a PPC ad, you don't want to start directing them off to loads of different content on your site which they could get distracted by and therefore not actually fill out a form and get in contact with your company. So by this, I mean, if someone hits your landing page, you want to make sure that you cookie their browser, and next time they go onto social media platforms, they start seeing more informative content. And if they haven't already converted, then they might see this content. It may trigger that conversion or start giving them more context or information they need to start guiding them down that buyer journey. So when I'm talking about valuable content, don't let it just be one touch point, then leave your site and then never hear about your brand again. Instead, you want to make sure that you offer valuable content natively within the feed of different social media platforms like Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, for example, which ultimately kind of ties into conversion optimization, not on page, but off page. Because ultimately conversion optimization shouldn't just be left down to on page. You should be able to use omni-channel marketing to make sure that you're convincing someone and trying to optimize for conversion rate, even once they've left your site. Number 13, brevity in forms. So making sure that your forms aren't unnecessarily long. So if you've asked for someone's company email address, you probably don't need to ask them for their company domain because it's obvious what their company is through their email. So don't make them fill out information they don't need to fill out. What I'd recommend if you're looking to book someone in for a consultation is once they've filled out the form, they can go straight through to booking a meeting through a calendar. What we see a lot is people filling out forms, then someone from that company trying to reach out to them to book a call, and then that person doesn't reply. So what you want to do is make sure that you have brief forms, but then flow to a booking in a calendar immediately, because what we found is people are much more likely to show up for calendar invites once it's booked in the diary. Number 14, and this one's kind of dependent on whether you've got the resource to be able to offer real-time chat, but a lot of the time, if you are able to put a little widget on your website which pops up and allows people to ask questions, you can probably field a few objections which someone may want to ask before getting in contact or buying your product. In this graphic, we did some research and found that 44% of people say that chatting with a live person through the consideration process plays a large role in their behaviour. But ultimately what I found it really good for is if people ask questions, you can then take that objection they have and then repurpose that to content on your site. So hopefully over time, people are going to be using this feature less and less. It's just a really good way of getting some real world, real-time feedback. Number 15, and this is a really interesting one, it's all around putting your social media at the bottom of the page. What I used to do is put social media right at the top when I used to design web pages. But if you ever look at the heat map data, like I mentioned in point 1, what you'll find is someone comes onto your website and then straight away clicks off onto one of your social media accounts without actually reading what's on your page. While this is kind of okay and they're still on your business channels, they haven't actually consumed the information which is hosted on your landing page, which ultimately has the sales job of pitching in your product or service. What we've started seeing work really well is putting social media last. Once someone's read the information that you've put on your carefully curated conversion optimized landing page, then they can go to the bottom. If they're not interested in getting in contact, they can go learn a bit more about you guys or your ways of thinking about the world or your product reviews, whatever it may be, on social media. And the final one, which is something that may seem very basic to a lot of you, but make sure your site is responsive. Even now, we even see a lot of B2B websites which haven't properly been made responsive. And even though a lot of people may not convert on mobile phones, what we came to find when doing our research for this graphic was just under half of B2B buyers are influenced by some content they've read on a mobile device throughout their buying journey. So if you guys haven't got a well-optimized, mobile, responsive website, and someone comes to do a bit of research around a product, looks at your blog, looks at your review pages, and it's not working or loading or stacking properly, then ultimately this could be a determining factor in them potentially going with a different supplier. I know this is very basic, but from a housekeeping perspective, make sure that your site does work properly on mobile, because we do see that not being the case quite a lot, right? I appreciate we've gone through a lot in this video, so hopefully you got a broad overview of all the different elements which you need to start focusing on to make sure you start converting all of these hard-earned users to your website into more customers. So this video is around conversion optimization, but if you do want a video around how we recommend getting really relevant and high intent visitors to your website through different marketing strategies, we actually have a video of that right here. So you could enjoy it. But until next time, guys, have a great week.